Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. First of all, it's come from personal pain, and that's kind of like my message is to find. I feel like I've gone through my own kind of like hero's journey, and and it's helped make me who I am. And so a lot of people, when they go through adversity, especially now, 2020 and 2021, a lot of people are losing their jobs. There's a huge reset going on. A lot of people view adversity as, oh, my life is falling apart, my life is over. But what I've found is that actually it's anything, and I think like even 50 Cent said this too, but any like adversity lays the seeds to great opportunity. And to kind of just teach guys this, like a lot of times you need your life to fall apart so that you can actually make the changes to become the champion that's in you. The champion's waiting. But unfortunately, a lot of our habits, we get stuck in our lives. We get stuck in our lives and it's hard to change. We have a career, we have something we're doing, we have maybe a cushy relationship, but we're not happy in it. And we're just stuck eating takeout, watching Netflix, and just kind of stuck in this hamster wheel. And none of those things are bad, by the way, either. But it's like if you're doing those things and then you're living unfulfilled, well, there's a problem. And a lot of times what we need to do to get shaken up so that we actually take action is for our lives to fall apart. And it just, all it means is that chapter of your life is ending. So for me, it first started when I was like 23, and I got married super young. So I was raised in a very like Christian cult. We're all super horny and young, so we get married super young.
Yeah.
But that fell apart, and I was like, dude, my life is over. Like I was kind of basically living my parents' life. I was like working a 9-to-5 job, blue collar job. My wife at the time, she was great girl, but I would just kind of live life in front of the TV. I was always playing Xbox or watching movies. I was getting fat, just eating, like drinking Diet Coke and stuff all the time. And it took her to leave, which was like one of the worst things in my life. Like I was like, oh, she betrayed me. It was a big fist fuck. Like it just fist fucked my heart. But it actually laid the seeds for me to become a dating coach. I started like getting into that and learning attraction. And one of the biggest questions it left me with was like, how can a woman go from loving me and I'm her world to hating my guts and thinking I'm like a piece of dog shit on her foot? So that question made me go into studying attraction, studying seduction, charisma, confidence. My self-esteem had just been broken at the time. So it was just like, okay, how do I pick myself up? And I started getting results for myself, and other guys started being like, hey, can you coach me? So I did that for a bit. And then again, I kind of like went up a bit. I was like, oh, like I had the nicest, like I moved to LA for a bit. I'd broken up with one of the girls I was with at a time, went to LA, kind of traveled around a bit. And then had like one of the nicest apartments in downtown Hollywood. And like all my neighbors were fucking YouTubers and shit. And I only had like maybe 3,000 subscribers at the time. And everyone else was like, yeah, I only have 500,000 subscribers, but my roommates have 1 million. I'm just like, Jesus, like that was like the world I was in. But then one of my launches went bad, like everything fell apart again. One of my launches went bad, and I had this like intuitional thing tell me, because I was like, dude, I feel like I'm going to go homeless. And I had this message intuitionally sent to me, and it was just like, you're about to go through some crazy shit, but don't freak out. It's going to help you. And that's all I got. And then I was just like, my ego and my mind and everything was just like, what the fuck? What is this? Like, and then, yeah, I ended up going homeless for a bit, but that was kind of like my hero's journey, was just like, I had to go to like the very bottom. And I don't recommend people to go homeless, because it's like it puts you in this lower state of consciousness where it really, like the people, like I really feel for people that are homeless now, because, and it helped me express my empathy. Like I was very much ambitious entrepreneur, but I was kind of a little bit cutthroat. I was a little bit too ambitious, didn't really care about people. Just like, I need to get successful. Fuck you guys. Either you guys are helping me or get the fuck out of my way. I still kind of have that, but now it's kind of balanced with like love for others. Now I like actually care for others, and it has that deeper connection that, we're all connected. I was having spiritual awakenings while I was going through that as well. And just having a lot of realizations about life. So that was about the time. A lot of that time was just going through pain and why is this happening? And it was just like it's like the descent down. Like if you study like the hero's journey, it's like the kind of the descent down into hell. They also call it like the ashes, and it's a kind of a loss of psychological status. It's not only just that you lose your outward possessions and shit, consciously, or your consciousness level, you feel like you're lower than people. And they talk about this in mythology and whatnot, but it's to kind of humble you and help you rise again. You know, you always kind of hear about like the rising phoenix. And so it kind of goes into that. So I was learning all these things. Not only was I just reading about it, but I was actually experiencing them in like real time, like going homeless and trying to pull myself up. And one of the biggest things I had was I was like, all right, like I need to make some changes. I was still reading, like I stole a book from the Santa Monica Library about Alexander the Great. And I was like, okay, how does this person think big? Or I was like studying other examples of people that went homeless, like even rappers and shit. And I was like, okay, how did they pull themselves out of the street? So I was still like learning and growing and like going through this time. And it was just hell at the time. But I just kind of realized, I was like, okay, like I still want to do dating coaching. I feel like that has a huge impact on life. When you learn success with women, you learn a lot of universal truths that apply in life. Because women in the universe are very similar. Like the feminine energy is like, it's like feminine energy is like the ocean. It's always moving and doing crazy shit, kind of like the universe. Like you can't control it. And then masculine energy, we're like that fucking boat, you know, that has that mission. And that was the point. I still had some coaching clients. Like I would still get money here and there and like get into an Airbnb for a bit and then run out of money. But what I learned is, and I started working with one client who was a recurring client. One thing, like he came out for a boot camp and I had run out of money. So I just had to tell him, I was like, look, dude, I'm kind of homeless at the time. Like I kind of told him the situation, but I was like, if you come out here, I'll coach you and like, we can go out and meet women and I'll get you better with your game. And he was totally cool about it. And one of my aha moments was he was actually jealous of what I was going through. And that like kind of threw me off a bit. I was like, wait, like I'm broke, like you have money. But he was living in a 9-to-5 job and he was so unfulfilled. And so that was kind of like an aha moment. I was like, oh shit. I was like, all these guys are like going for money, but they're doing things that they don't want to do. And it's kind of like sucking their souls out. At least for me, like, yeah, I'm broke and my ego and my pride is taking a hit, but I'm actually like, my soul is feeling fulfilled. Like I'm learning and I'm feeling like I had something like I had like this higher calling say, like, just stick with it. If you just stick with it, there's going to be some breakthroughs that you're going to learn. And I feel like it was a multi-million-dollar education that I would never want to repeat, but I got so many like breakthroughs of life that I could never get anywhere else. And it was huge. And so learning that, worked with that student. And then actually that student, he had a girlfriend for a bit, but she broke up with him. He was again, super depressed. So again, it helped me pivoted. And I was like, have you ever thought about finding a purpose in life? Like a lot of these things I was teaching these guys success with women, but once they got a girlfriend, then they would kind of turn into the lazy guy that they were before. They're like, well, I'm getting sex. It's back to watching TV, back to playing video games, not working out, not doing all the things that are making me the fucking man, that are making me the fucking champion. And I think too, it's just my calling of like, I always have this thing of like, what does it take to be a champion? Like, I like studying greats. I like studying geniuses. I like studying great men, Alexander the Great, just anyone that's doing something great that really inspires me, you know, to go at that level. What is the motivation behind them and whatnot? So that's when I started realizing, I was like, all right, I got to switch from dating to, I was like, I need to create a brand called Conscious Alpha, because the alphas are the guys who get the dating, who have options with women. And I was like, that's something I want to like live, the world I want to live in. I want to have options with women. I want the men around me to have options with women. But there has to be a deeper level to it. You know, there's almost like a spiritual level of like, what is your purpose in life? What is your deeper calling, your inner fulfillment? And I wanted to put that into the mix. So that's kind of the general gist of Conscious Alpha. And then from there, I ran some programs. And honestly, now I'm still dialing it in, where now like I'm focusing in on empathic men. I think that's huge. I don't know if you are empathic yourself. I think everyone is, but like everyone's waking up to it. Some people, I know like the generations younger than us are very aware of shit, like even energetically, and realizing that we're all connected and connected to life. And then I feel bad because they're like, dude, like the adults are fucking the world up and fucking shit up. And they're doing nothing about it. And we're the role models. So my thing is, a lot of times empathic men are very sensitive. They're kind of timid. They're a little bit too nice. And for me, like, it's kind of a balance, because I I'm very much empathic, but I'm very much like, I like to be the dominant figure in my life. And so I want to teach guys that how do you balance being a sensitive, empathic man who has a lot of abilities to help the world and a lot of awareness, but be a dominant leader that actually people respect and you actually get what you want. You're not just some pushover. So that's the general gist.
You know, the interesting thing, I guessed it, and when you were telling the story, I was like, oh, okay, you know, it got deeper. There is death. It's not about let's go out and get girls. You know, like, you know, there is some depth to it. You know, you've gone
Yeah.
through your own spiritual journey. You've gone through,
Yeah.
you know, your own awakening, and you're like, okay, this is consciousness. You know, you're gonna get the girls. Don't worry about that. Like, you know, that's gonna
Yeah.
well be the guy that has it anyway. You know, in spite of, you know, and that's a powerful that in itself. If all the guys get is the message in itself, without that in itself is whatever, without going through the program, that's what they pay.
Mm.
Just the understanding of the message. That's what I hey, look, here's my money, thank you. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. A lot of going out, like I'm going to go out tonight with a buddy, and we push ourselves with our social skills and whatnot. But game now to me has turned into it's a moving meditation. It's a yoga for me. It's a social yoga, and your blind spots get thrown in your fucking face. And so it's a fun, and now it's not even about like I switched my focus to, oh, does this girl like me or whatever, because that doesn't fucking matter. Like it's like, okay, where's your self-love? Like where's your self-love at? Because the guys with the most self-love, that you're already attractive. So it's really like looking at it reversely. And it's kind of I've taken the game of like seduction and turned it into a spiritual meditation for me. Because the best results you get is when you don't want it, right? When you're in your zone and you're just giving. You're like the sun, right? You're just giving. You're making people feel good around you. You're flirting with girls. You're sharing your charm and your charisma with people, which a lot of guys, they don't get that. They're like, they have such low self-esteem and they're like, well, I'm not charming, I'm not charismatic. You do, but your energy is pointed inward, right? And it's all like pushed inward, and you're like, I feel like shit. So right, we got to do exercises to push it out. Right. Yeah, spot on. And then when you do that, people want to be around you. And then so then you don't have, it's like you almost win the game where people start approaching you too, because you're just giving off a good vibe. Your vibe is so good. Girls will like pick you out of the fucking group and shit. Yeah.
wow, it's powerful what you do, man. So how long have you been doing this? You know,
I've been coaching success with women for about like 5 to 6 years, and there's been like on and off. So I mean, there was times where I was like homeless and shit too, so like there was times when I wasn't doing it so intensely. But even then, like the times when I was homeless, I was kind of going more into my men's development. I still feel like that was a learning lesson. That was training for me, where I was understanding these concepts of what it takes to be a man, and the different lessons we go through. I mean, like if you're a guy and you're 21, all you want to do is you're kind of horny. You just want to get laid. Like a lot of the spiritual stuff is not going to make sense to you unless you're kind of a little bit woke. But that's just where you are on your journey. Eventually, like I've had enough one night stands and crazy times and threesomes, which are all great, but you get tired of it. It's like you're evolving, and if you keep doing the same thing, it's like a child, a small baby playing with the same toy. Like it's not going to help it, but you'll see that it'll start trying to walk, it'll start biting on things, because that's how it's evolving. And eventually you're going to get to the spiritual journey. Like eventually it's the last game in town. But if you kind of find it early, you realize you kind of set yourself on the right path, and life starts working out a lot better. You start cleaning your shit up and dialing it in. And like one of my pillars I have in my book, Evolve or Die, the 12 Pillars of Conscious Alpha, is align your selfish desires with the good of the whole. There's a way for you to get your selfish desires met, and and think bigger too. I think I got that from Ray Dalio too. And it's like, if you always try to help the whole, you'll be rewarded, because you got to realize like we're co-creating with the universe, right? And we're all co-creators. You're co-creating your reality, I'm co-creating mine. So it's a multiplayer game. So it's not just you. But if you think about how is what I'm doing contributing to the greater good, then you're going to start moving forward. If you're always like, well, I need my shit done, I need my money, I need to get laid, I need to do this, you're just an asshole. You're just a selfish sack of shit.
Yeah.
And that's what most people think of. And I feel for you, because it's a hard, when you're in that headspace, which I've been there, like it's hard to like turn outward, and helping people or giving out compliments seems like really lame. It sounds like that means I'm a pussy or I'm weak. But what paradoxically, that's going to be the thing that pulls you out of that negative headspace. I call it the victim vibes. You're stuck in victim vibes because you're pointed at yourself. And so when you're pointing at yourself and only think about yourself, you're very small. When you start thinking about others, that's what makes you a fucking alpha. Because if you think about it, alpha is not just about having power, right? We have a lot of corrupt and tyrannical examples out there, but really the alpha is the leader of the group. He's the person that's willing to go above and beyond and give, right? That's why I think like the sun has always been a masculine trait for men. The sun's always been a masculine thing, and the moon's always been feminine. Well, what does the sun do? The sun is always just giving sunlight. It doesn't ask questions. Sometimes there's clouds. Even when there's clouds, it's giving sunlight. That's all it's doing. It's just giving. So if you want to be the alpha, if you truly want to be it and not just appear, because most guys want to appear, they want to have the leather jacket or the flashy watch. And if that's your style, that's fine. But if you're doing it to try to like to get validation from people, you're going about it the wrong way. You're going about it the ego way, right? Where like the sun is like, he's just giving. He's giving value, and he's working on himself. So if you can get to that point, you know, your desires are going to be met. If you can think bigger and think of how can I help people around me, or how can I have a mission in life, then whatever you want selfishly is going to get met. And you can look, there's constant examples of that. One of my favorite examples is Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner did the same thing, you know, and he fought for a lot of people's rights for like free speech. He fought for like sexual liberation and shit like that. So he was helping a lot of other communities that felt repressed and whatnot. And he did it in a badass way. He made Playboy, which is like one of the #3 brands in the world. So you can do that. You can have an awesome life and help people too.
One way I remember it is the way the salesman put it: if you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I've tried it the selfish way, and I don't feel good. It's like, you know, it's that grind, that hustle, like me. You get a little bit, I feel it's like you're doing 80% work and you get 20% payoff, if anything. And so you're like, dude, I did all this hustle and I got paid a little bit, or, oh, I got this girl, but I'm not going to date her forever. Like, you know, you got a little bit of a win, but it's just not enough. Whereas if you do it the other way, I know in my life, like I've been working a lot on this and just being more selfless, and it's hard to, and you realize you think you're selfless. You're like, well, I was nice to that. I said hi to that old lady today. And you're like, I'm a nice person. And you're like, no, dude, that's just like the top of the surface. If you really start giving to people and give of your time without needing anything, like, and you start doing that regularly, like you realize like how much you can actually help, but you feel lighter, you feel less stressed. Now my days I wake up and I feel really good. And it's like, how can I help? How can I give? And one of my mentors said, as long as you stay in that vibe of giving, of helping people, you're in abundance. You're in that abundant state, right? And that's when opportunities come in. That's when the universe comes around and helps you out in ways you didn't even think that are possible. But if you're still stuck on yourself of like, well, I don't see it, right? Your mind is always like, well, I don't see it logically. I don't know how this is going to happen. It's like, don't worry about that right now. Just focus on helping others, and opportunities are going to come your way that you didn't even know about.
Well, it's a very strong message. And so the people who want to really connect with you, connect with your message, and who say, okay, I get what he's saying, and this is how can they get in touch with you?
They want to work with me. Facebook is a great way to do it. I'm on there a lot. Or I have my website, consciousalpha.co. There I have, you can even join my email list where you get some things about finding purpose. Right now, I'm really focused on helping guys find purpose, because I feel like if you find your North Star, a lot of things work out for you. Like even in the dating field, like if you work on your purpose, the byproduct is women find you more attractive. Because if you think about it, like alphas aren't always going out and flirting with girls. Like they have a mission in life, right? When you have power, it's like that classic quote, great power comes great responsibility. When you have that focus in life, you just naturally become more attractive, and you don't have to do as much game because women will approach you. So yeah, if you want to work with me, I actually have a thing that's starting in April called the Conscious Alpha Initiative. And that's a 2-week program. That's a 2-week coaching program. So if I'm working with guys, specifically empathic men, but it's guys, if you feel like you have a calling inside, like if you feel like you're here to do something great, maybe you kind of know, or you have it going, but you just feel stuck and you need some guidance. I'm there to help you. You're going to work in a group with me. I'm going to give you 5 keys to help you dial it in. I also teach too, and this is a big part of the brand, is the dynamic masculine training, which is helping men access their king, warrior, mystic, and lover. So if you study like all throughout, you can see it in our movies and history and mythology and tribes and whatnot. Men always had distinct roles that they played: the king, the warrior, the mystic, and the lover. And we all have those, right? So I really help teach men how to dial that in. So for some men, it's the king role, where it's like, how do I become a great leader? How am I more assertive? How do I set boundaries? Sometimes if you're an empath, you're too nice. It's like, all right, how do I set those boundaries? Some men are too tapped into their lover or their mystic, where they're really good artists, they're really good musicians, they're very giving, but they don't grind enough. They don't like hustle enough to get their shit done. They're like, oh, I'm trying to manifest all this stuff, which is good. I fully believe in that stuff, but they actually need to put some grounded action behind what they do. And so I help show them the different modalities to help you function in the best way possible, like to help you be a remarkable leader so you can build your following. Like, I believe everyone here has a purpose and can build a following of people that is going to jive with what you do, that likes what you're doing and wants to be a part of it. So yeah, so if that interests them, they can hit me up on Facebook, and we can go from there.
So what would be your last message to guys right now?
Yeah. Believe in yourself. Fucking love yourself, man. Like, really, like, that's connect to your true self. That's what I'm really teaching. There's like the core of you, and we're multifaceted beings. Like, we have everything our parents taught us, everything that school taught us, society. But I mean, a lot of that's bullshit. Like, we have our egos and our prides, but even deeper down, I feel like we have our soul that's connected. And like, when you really like dial that in, and it's not a spirit, it's not a dogma thing or whatnot, but it's just like the essence of you, like why you came here. Like, I feel like if you're here, especially in 2021 with all the crazy shit that's going on, you're here for a reason, right? And that might scare you because you never think in those terms, but like, I challenge you to think big. I challenge you to see that like you are just as good. When you study the greats, when you study the Elon Musk and whatnot, you realize they were just men. They were just men that went on the journey. Maybe they started a little bit earlier than you and whatnot, but you still have that greatness in you. So it's like, I challenge you. Are you willing to unleash it?
Great to have you. Thank you very much for coming today.
Yeah. Thanks, Fortune. I appreciate this. Good talking to you, man.